Good evening, brothers and sisters of the Nevis Reformation Party. Let me, on behalf of our President, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, all the members of the executive, all the branches of the Nevis Reformation Party, let me welcome you to the start of our public meetings in what for us must be the most consequential and the most significant federal election that we have had to deal with since independence in 1993. So I warmly welcome all of you here at Jessups, which is the heartland of support of the Nevis Reformation Party. And I also welcome our brothers and sisters from across the Caribbean, in North America, in Europe, wherever you are listening to us. And we know that you follow us on the World Wide Web, and we thank you for joining us. This is the start of our campaign public meetings, and we are going to engage you with the candidates, and we are going to share with you what could be done, what we have done, and what we will do when we get elected in the elections whenever they are called. So brothers and sisters, we are cranking up the machine here in Jessups, and what better place to crank up the machine than at Jessups? Jessups, are you going to send us to Bastille? Can't hear you, Jessups. You're getting quiet. When we come to Jessups, we get inspired to go to the other parts of the community in Nevis. And so we are happy to be here, and we welcome all of you in person and those who are listening and watching us virtually. To get started, we want to invoke God's presence on our meeting, and so we are going to ask Mr. Anthony Nisbet to pray for us and to bring God's blessings on our proceedings this evening. Mr. Anthony Nisbet, give him a round of applause when he comes. He's one of your own from right here in Jessups.
Good evening. Bow your heads as we pray. God, we have entered this era at this juncture 3 years earlier than we intended. Only you know, God, why this is happening. But we look to you, who raise up individuals and who put down individuals, who elect government and reject them. Tonight we ask, God, that you would intervene in this place tonight. Intervene in the area of St. Thomas's. May the voters, oh God, go to the poll and vote their conscience. May they not be bribed. May they not accept $500 wrapping some shirt somewhere from any of these individuals. We pray, God, that the people would go out, and that even those who are putting up themselves for election, God, would move out of the way and let you do what you have to do to the people. We ask tonight that you will intervene in this meeting, and that individuals here would conduct themselves as civil human beings, God. We pray that as they speak, they will speak with clarity. Every individual would understand what they are saying. We pray upon our rancor tonight, God, but we pray that we will understand clearly the issues and the policies, oh God, whatever they are. And that we would go to the polls and vote as sensible individuals. And that we would not vote for individuals because we like them, But we won't vote for individuals because they can talk. But we will vote for performance people, oh God. And individuals who would look out for the interests of our country. Look out for the interests of our people. Oh God, there's so many individuals in our land who are suffering even at this time while others, oh God, are enjoying themselves. We pray, God, tonight that some equality would come, both in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we pray that the right people would be elected. And even those who are putting themselves to this party, oh God, we pray that your blessing will be upon them. We pray that they will look to you for guidance, look to you for direction, look to you for wisdom and understanding, so that they, as they put themselves in the position, God, that they will be able to lead. That they will be able to lead, God. Not being pushed, but lead. And that all of us would feel the effects of their leading. Bless the proceedings tonight. And every individual who would speak, God, we pray that you would hold your voices up. And that every one of us would understand what they're saying tonight. And that at the end of this meeting, we will go away realizing that these individuals would fit for the task that is being set before them. This task is a great one at this time. We realize it's an uphill battle, and it's a ding-dong battle, God. But with you at the front of the battle can be won. We give you the praise, the honor, and the glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
NRP, let me sing it to you. NRP, that's what matters. NRP, performance.
Thank you very much, Brother Tony. And you can't want a more fervent prayer than that to keep us and to carry us forward. Brothers and sisters, I see us gathering from all the various constituencies in Nevis. And if you are from here in St. Thomas's, make some noise so that people know you're here. If you are from St. James, make some noise so that people know you're here. If you are from Gingerland, St. George, make some noise that people know you're here. If you are from St. John's, make some noise so that people know you're here. And of course, if you are from Charlestown, make more noise so that people know you're here. You know, brothers and sisters, as Brother Tony was praying and talking about bribery, I have to tell you that just this evening, the Caribbean Court of Justice ruled against the Dominica government for offering bribe, which they call treating, and said that they were guilty of bribing people in the 2015 election. Some candidate had the bravery to take the matter to court, and the Caribbean Court of Justice says that the ruling government in Dominica was guilty of keeping parties, free consort, and offering free food and drink in unusual amounts. And so that was considered bribery. Sounds familiar in Nevis? Sounds familiar? In addition, it says that there were individuals who were paid in rather underhand ways to vote for the government. Does it sound familiar? So you know, brothers and sisters, where we are heading with this, and we are saying to the people in Nevis, one president has been set, and it can be done again, because what the judge says is that the magistrate refused to hear the case, and the judge said the magistrate was supposed to hear the case, as opposed to saying judicial review from the candidates. That's the final ruling. And so to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So, brothers and sisters, we will continue our mission to use our platforms to bring opportunities, to share opportunities with our people. And so we welcome again all of you. And we say to you, we have a treat this evening, because just by way of information, let me tell you that we have 3 candidates in constituencies 9, 10, and 11. In constituency number 9, let me hear you make some noise for her. Dr. Patricia Bartlett in constituency number 9. Yes. And in constituency number 10 is Rohan Isles. And in constituency number 11 is the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party. Brothers and sisters, they have come to get rid of laziness in government. They have come to get rid of incompetence in government. And they have come to point us in another direction, in a better direction. So you notice part of our mantra for this election says, a new direction with the Nevis Reformation Party. So you know what happened? I saw somebody in an old t-shirt. So I tell them, put on a new t-shirt to reflect the new direction. You hear me? Put on your new t-shirt because we have a new direction. So brothers and sisters, we are in with a treat. And when we match up our candidates against them from the other side, we say that we are about performance, because performance matters. Performance matters. And so, brothers and sisters, I want you, wherever you go, these are our candidates. No matter what you hear anybody says, these are our candidates, and these candidates are going to show us and lead us. And brothers and sisters, what I'm asking all of us to do right throughout the constituencies is to big up our candidates. Big up our candidates, because they have come forward to help us to make Nevis a better place. As somebody says, I think it was Leader Janice when she was last on radio, and I'm sure you agree with me. Every time the NRP is in power in Nevis, things get better. Not true? Every time NRP is in power, things get better. And so we are saying to you, if you are interested in making sure that things get better, vote for the Nevis Reformation Party. One more point, brothers and sisters. We in the Nevis Reformation Party worked with PAM, we worked with Labour, but none of them could so forward go fire. We stayed it course. None of them could forward fire. We walk good with Tom, Dick, or Harry, and we are going to do it again. We did it already, and we're going to do it again on behalf of the people of Nevis. Are you with me on that? You don't get fired when you walk good. You get fired when you not walk. And so, brothers and sisters, we connect with the start of the NRP, the continuation of the NRP, and the forward movement of the NRP. So we are inviting now to bring brief remarks the man who led the last NRP in government. You remember they say, vote against Parry and them because they might do too much. So we shall bring Mr. Parry now to endorse our candidates. Mr. Parry. This is your man. Nevis. Make some noise and bring your and recommend your man.
Yo! Nevis! Tell them who can handle it, just leave this! Hey! I'm just show me your hand if you put it.
This is a team working hard to keep Nevis green. Build houses to fulfill your dream. Best performers that you have seen. Well, shout it out loud. In 5 years they have made us proud. The employment rate is on our high. That's performance you can't deny. Unstoppable force. We stay in our course. No time to turn back. We stay in our
Good night. Oh, this is great. This is great. Good night to the people of Jessups. Good night to the people of Nevis. Good night to the supporters of the Nevis Reformation Party. Yes, I am happy once again to be on the platform of the Nevis Reformation Party. But I want to tell you that this is the first and the last time for this campaign. Janice, good night, how are you? She invited me to speak tonight, and I could not let her down. You see, it is important for us to see the connection between the past, the present, and the future. The message is, and still is, that NRP is the People's Party. And those who have gone already, and those of us who are retired, and those who are present, we have the same philosophy, uplifting the people of Nevis. And every time that NRP, any time that Nevis is in a hole, NRP who they have to turn to. In 1970, it was NRP. In 1980, when they formed the coalition with PAM, it was NRP. In 2006, when the country was going downhill, it was NRP. And NRP performed so well, a sixth farmer from Gingerland told me, you do too much. Well, don't be afraid of doing too much, because that is what politics is about. Doing as much as you can, as fast as you can, to help your people. We're not here, NRP is not here for poise. We're not here to make promises. Give us 3 so we could take care of Nevis. And now you get 3. You want us to send you back to St. Kitts. To do what? To do what? But you see, there was a trick. There was a trick that fooled Nevis people. Oh, we need another one. We need all 3. And now they say, we've been there already, we got experience. They have no experience. That is why they were fired. But let me tell you something. If they have experience, how come they need money from St. Kitts to pay the civil servants? Do you realize that NRP was not getting any money to balance the budget, but we run the country and we run it well. We run it well. $400 million and nobody can give an account for it. It is gone. And so you see, my people, I just want to say, as a member of this community, you can never, ever send any one of them to St. Kitts again, because they have failed you. They have failed the people of Nevis. They have failed St. Thomas's and St. James, Charleston and St. John's, and they have failed Gingerland. I sense, I sense there is a change. There is a wind of change. A wind of change blowing in this country. And it's blowing from the north. And it's going to blow from the north to the south. And from the south to the east. Because this country needs rescuing. This country needs cleaning up. Cleaning up. No longer nice talks can save the country. You want people who can perform. Janice has a CV. She has performed.
quietly, but she has performed. Her record is there. And that's what you must judge her from, her record. Don't matter that they say she has never been in government. That does not matter. What matters is the experience to manage and run something. And she has that experience to run and manage. And let me tell you something. They got experience to run what? To run what? You need $6-7 million every month from St. Kitts and telling the people, we want our fair share. If they wanted the fair share, they'd have asked for it 7 years ago. But you know what? They want some money to campaign. They want some money to pay some people. And so that is the way the falling out start down there. You don't bother with them. Don't let them fool you. Don't let them drag you into their mess. NRP has no enemies. Not in St. Kitts, not in Nevis. If there's need for them to sit down and negotiate, they can with a clean slate. So I want you to make sure you give them your support. I think my 5 minutes are up. So let me say, no, I ain't going to do the US tonight. I want to say that, first of all, I don't know if Cleon is here yet, but she told me she was going to be here tonight. And I want to say to her that continue the hard work in St. Thomas's. Build up Westbury and Cotton Ground, Bartlett and Jessups and Craddock Road. And I want you all, you supporters of NRP and people of this parish, to understand that Cleone is the local candidate, but we're in a federal election. And we want you to give support to the leader of the party, the Nevis Reformation Party, Janice Daniel. Let me tell you further, you know, one hand can't clap. Sometimes when we talk, we say, okay, well, it was Parry who brought the housing, or Hensley who brought the community centers. When we sit in cabinet, all of us make decisions and all of us are responsible. So all that talk is talk, but cabinet is cabinet. And everybody got the cabinet once they run in government. And if the leader of the cabinet can do as he like, you don't have no cabinet, you have a dictator. So I'm saying this to say that whether you're supporting Cleone or NRP or Janice or Joseph Parry or who, we all are one. We all are one, and I ain't gonna be in no cabinet. My cabinet day is done, but I am still alive and well and can give my support to Janice, the party, and the people of Nevis. So, I said, Janice, your father gave me St. Thomas's. I kept a very good record in St. Thomas's. They even call me the Premier of St. Thomas's, but I don't care. I just want to say to you, you have roots here. You have roots in Jessups, in Bartlett, and I'm sure they have Daniels in Cotton too. Make use of your roots. Uplift your party and take your party to victory, because the victory is waiting for us. I feel it. I smell it. I hear it, especially for the young people. With those few words, I say to all of you here tonight, thank you for having me. Keep on supporting Janice Daniel, Cleone Stapleton, Patricia Bartlett, Rohan Isles, J.D. Keynes, and all the candidates, local or federal, of the Nevis Reformation Party. Good night, and I thank you.
Nevis! I hope them hear this. NRP, Nevis Reformation Party. Show me you one if you're voting. Yeah. For NRP, you know we voting. Yeah. Show me you one. Oh, yeah. Hey. We voting for NRP, the performance party. The other party a comedy like them want for a coming movie. We vote NRP.
Still having some pep, right? Still having some pep. Still solid, right? You know, in the people who know about wine say that they mellow with age. And so, brothers and sisters, Premier Paris says he smelled the victory. Do you smell it? Do you smell it? Do you smell it in St. Thomas's? Do you smell it in St. James? Do you smell it in Gingerland? Do you smell it in St. John's? Do you smell it in St. Paul's? Brothers and sisters, our local candidate here, Cleone, has not been well, and she has not been able to attend some of our activities, but I think I see her somewhere around, and we want to offer special praise for her and trust that she will be able to come back to full strength so that we could continue with the Nevis Reformation Party. Because in a battle, we want all these soldiers to line up in St. Thomas's, line up in St. James, line up in Gingerland, line up in Charlestown, line up in St. John's. And so, Honorable Cleone Stapleton Simmons, I think I glimpsed her someplace. Yes. Let's give her a round of applause because she's the local candidate. And we are going to rally with her and ask her to come and even give us a minute and a half US of time so that we could say, she could come for a minute. No, the voice isn't good, but she's here. So let's give her a round of applause. Brothers and sisters, our candidates in the Nevis Reformation Party were preparing for the local election, and we done ready since last year. We have 5 candidates ready to rumble for the Nevis Reformation Party. But because you have a bunch of lazy people from CCM, they get fired, get thrown out of the government, so we have to have a federal election. Is JD here? Not yet. Okay. Brothers and sisters, just one other thing. I want all of us to do something for the rest of us, to the rest of your family, to the rest of your friends. 2, make sure you check the voters list and get your ID ready. Somebody went to register the other day, last week, folks, and they were told, the person was told, we're not sure if you're going to get your ID. Well, all right. Let me just make this very clear for everybody, all the citizens. By law, you can vote with your passport, you can vote with your social security card, and you can vote with your driver's license. So let them keep the voter's ID up by the office. We have 3 more pieces that we can work with. So people have been going to change their ID because it's a national ID. People have been going to get it. And, well, if you look like you're backing NRP, you are told there's a problem with the machine. So come back next week. You go back next week, or we waiting for something from SimKits to fix the machine in Nevis. You know, that sounds like we waiting for the money from SimKit to pay the public servant in Nevis. So I want you to do something for all of us. Check your voter's ID. Check your name on the voters list. Check where you normally vote. And of course, let us monitor what is happening in the boxes, and let us take the approach that our sister Uletta took in Cotton Ground during the by-election for Cleone. You know, remember what she said? The school bus got to come for the boxes. The school bus got to come. Don't think that they have finished those tricks. They have more tricks because they are on the ropes. We in the Nevis Reformation Party are ahead in every sphere. And so just do that for your own friends and for all of us so that we don't have any major regrets during the election. And now, brothers and sisters, you know, we really come to hear the candidates. And so we are going to begin with number 9. And we are going to ask you to welcome St. John's people, Charlestown people. This is your candidate. So let me hear you. Welcome Dr. Patricia Bartlett, candidate for the Nevis Reformation Party.
Don't talk defeat to me. I ain't come here for that. Jessups people, Barnes got people, Cotton Ground people, people from St. George's, people from St. James's, my people from St. John's, people from St. Paul's. Good night, good night, good night. Good night to all of you. I bring greetings particularly to the people of Jessups. You know, Jessups is a place that I spent some time in my early years of working. So, well, yes, St. Thomas's. But just because I'm in Jessups, I had a kind of a close relationship with the people of Jessups. Because, you know, I used to work up by the Mount and Jessup Estate with Santa Boring and guys like Chucker, Lloyd Arterton, Doobie, and Esther. I mean, we had some good times, you know, running behind cattle and stuff like that. And then up at Tower Hill, there was Mr. Martin and Jesse and the... Yes, so I spent some time in Jessup, man. So I just wanted to big up Jessup people. I feel like I'm home. Thank you. Now, people, why are we here tonight? Why are we here? Imagine that. 3 years. We're here 3 years early. Eh? Who else goes to an event 3 years early? Huh? CCM brought us to this point. 3 years early, we are going into a federal election. Just when we were getting ready to come to the good people of Nevis to say, please, let us help you out of the misery we all in. Next thing we hear, brap, brap. Federal election, just like I saw. I couldn't imagine it. Because it's just in December. Just in December we were hearing things like, Timothy is the best. He's the best thing since sliced bread. Boy, Timothy is the greatest. Boy, Timothy is the best economist in the world. The man knows how to manage money. And then March, I hear, oh, fair share. I was like, who that? I had to look around and I realized it was my cousin talking about fair share. I was like, fair share? What happened December? When they mean a share money and you take yours and you said, thank you very much. And you put it in the budget over here and you said, this is how I'm going to spend the money that Timothy gave me. And I am pleased. And next thing I hear, somebody else say, well, they don't go sing it. And I was like, what do you mean they ain't going to sing it? No, they got to go. They're working for us. But I hear that they stop go St. Kitts. Then next thing I hear, Timothy fire them. Oh, wow, planker this. I said, that is planker. Yeah, well then again, well, that's between them. But you see, the problem I'm having is that fair share for divisions is a serious thing. When we think about it, we deserve a fair share, you know? And NRP recognized that from long time, from since 1983, we've been working on behalf of the people of Nevis to deliver fair share. So 1983, when we had the Constitution, first for St. Kitts Nevis, the people sat around the table, NRP was there, and we said, keep it in the Constitution so Nevis people would always get their fair share. So, all right, we put it in the Constitution, Section 110, and it's been there ever since. It worked, and then lo and behold, government change. 1982, Nevis people said, you know what, Sim Daniel, you brought us 4 seasons, that's too good. You brought us 4 seasons, you brought us jobs, we're going tongue now, we're going to change. We're going to change to people who wear in suit and clean shoes and all the rest of it. We have no more use for you. So in 1992, Nevis people say, okay, we're going to give CCM a chance. Boy, as it turned out, it was not to our benefit. I said it was not to our benefit. As it relates to fair share, because by 1995, them guys stop the pooling of the money. Stop the pooling of the money so Nevis people couldn't get 25% anymore because they were fooled. A man look at 1 year's performance in Nevis and say, oh, 4 seasons bringing in money. You know what? We're putting in more than we're getting out. Let me stop send money to St. Kitts because we're putting in more than the 25%. I'm like, how short-sighted could that be? Because all of us here know that as it relates to tourism, 1 year you're doing good, next year, boom, bap, has hurricane come across the Atlantic. Next thing you know, we're scrambling, all the hotels closed, people out of work, sometimes for a year, sometimes for 2 years. All that time, where are we going to get money from to sustain Nevis? So nobody would have thought ahead that there would be circumstances sometimes that mean you're not going to be contributing the same 25%. So they withdrew Nevis. Just like that, unceremoniously, they withdrew us from that fair sharing arrangement that was in the Constitution. It was so entrenched in the Constitution that it means that if St. Kitts people didn't want to honor it, you know what they would have to do? They would have to go to the Parliament. And they would have to get 2/3 majority in there to at least discontinue that arrangement. They would have to go to the people in St. Kitts, everybody in St. Kitts who could vote, and ask them to participate in a referendum. And they would have to get 2/3 there as well. Likewise, the same thing would have to happen in Nevis. But no, we thought that that was too good for Nevis people. And so CCM unadvisedly withdrew us from that arrangement. Mind you, that was the first attempt of NRP trying to get for Nevis what was really ours. Then here comes a change of government because Nevis people recognize things ain't going so good under CCM. 2006, NRP back in power again. No, by 2010, I think you all remember when they were talking about the VAT, the 17% and everything when Dougie had fooled us and say, only tax you'll have to pay was the VAT and it's only 70% and everything else was under there. It turned out not to be true, but still, what was happening now is that we were at the cusp of introducing new legislation that would allow Nevisians again to enter into an arrangement so that we could get, this time, because our population was a little smaller, we would get 24%, St. Kitts would get 76. We felt better. At least we were going to get something again. So Mr. Parry went ahead and he built all kind of things. Mr. Parry did And you guys could look around and see what would have been done during those years. All the community centers, the health centers, the road that Barnes got and everybody else got, all them kind of things he got. And guess what? He was satisfied with the 24% that we were getting, and it went a long way. And we can see what the monies were spent for then. Nobody had to ask Mr. Parry, well, where the 400 million gone? Because you could have seen what he did with the 100 million or less that he would have collected. Fast forward, we had elections again, and I spoke about this a couple nights ago. I said elections got consequences, people. People, elections have consequences, man. Because guess what? In 2013, government changed again in Nevis. Nevis people don't learn, you know. By 2014, they took us out of that fair share arrangement again. Now what they want? Huh? You're getting 24%. All you do, you bring your taxes, St. Kitts bring theirs, and pool it. Look at how much you should anticipate that St. Kitts getting. You're not bright enough for work out that they're going to be bringing more. And the thing is now, we start making big noise. Take us out the arrangement, and so we start making noise for the money from the passport. Well, we know how that go, because the money for the passports have been in Bastia ever since. We could never see the books. We could see some leaf now and then we see a loose leaf, but we would never see the books on that. We have to appreciate that. That is our reality. And there's nothing wrong with asking for your fair share, mind you. But that is what you call an informal arrangement. Imagine NRP put you into formal arrangement where you could go to court and say, look, this guy did not honor this arrangement. You take them out of that. And then you go in on the courthouse, write something on a brown paper bag, call it the Charleston Accord, and say that that must replace what the Constitution says. No, that ain't make no sense. That can't make any sense. And it has not worked for us. So here we are tonight because of the fair share fake argument, because it's a fake argument. Because ever since they signed it, they never did receive what really would amount to a fair share. But they wait till now. 7 years later, they wait till now. And they want to fool me and you. Sylvester, they want to fool you too. Imagine that. I'm a big man like you. They want to come tell you that. But not even a person with half a brain would buy the explanation. Because by now, divisions are onto them. Yes. We recognize that you see this thing about fair share is just a lot of cataflang. Cataflang, nothing else but cataflang, just to mask the fact that they have not been doing anything. Yeah. When you ask them about the 400 million, they say, not ask about that, not ask about that. You're not supposed to ask us why we do the $1 million that we get. Well, how you mean? You're not supposed to be accountable to Nevis people? And I think that is what the problem is. They think that they are above the law. Because in the first instance, they should have never contravened the Constitution, the provision in section 110 that said you must bring your money, come, pool it, and then you get your percentage out of it. They should have never done that. That is being lawless. And everything they do points to the fact that they want to operate above the law. You can't do that. This is a country of laws. When we send you to Bastia in the parliament, we expect you to be honorable. We expect you to conduct yourself as honorable men ought to. You cannot be sent there to make laws, but end up breaking laws for your own convenience. That's not the way it works, and that's not what we're supposed to accept as a people, because we're brighter than that. I keep saying we're 98% literate. We're brighter than that, so we cannot take that. Tell them go back with the kind of argument there. You can't sell that, not to anybody with half a brain. So all of us here know that the reason why we're here tonight is because they did not get the money to buy the next local election. Simple. You didn't take a genius to work out that. They just ain't get the money and so they're going to mash up the place over that. Huh? How you can mash up the place? In the midst of an economic crisis. Look where we're at. Huh? In the midst of a constitutional crisis, look where we're at. In the midst of hurricane season, look where we at. In the midst of COVID resurgence, look where we at. They put us squarely in a position where all of the negative energies are impacted on all of us. And life ain't getting no easier. And it ain't gonna get no easier for us under them either, because they have not brought any solutions to the table. All they have done up to this point is cause confusion. Cause confusion. Spend money without accountability. So when you ask them now about the 400 million, don't say what we do with the 400 million. Ask what Timothy do with the $1 billion. Well, I don't care what Timothy do with the $1 billion. I care what we do with what we get, because we ain't getting no more. Tomorrow, Timothy might not be there. Then what? What are we supposed to do if we do not find a partner in syndicates who is minded to give us not even a quarter of what we are worth or what we deserve? That is not good enough. We should not be here tonight trying to contest a federal election with all the brightness that they have. Some of them brighter than stadium bulb. And they still can't figure out that when people suffering, there is where you need to focus. Focus on getting relief to us. The people over here who are struggling in poverty. And when you ask them about poverty, they can't give you any poverty assessment survey results yet. Now, I know, because those are the kind of things I follow, eh? I know that they did the field work since 2019. And you mean that the information can't reach us yet? Huh? The information is there, but then to shame. They don't want us to know that before they took over, the level of poverty was much lower than where it is now. Mind you, if they came and they told us, we could understand. We had COVID, we had the war, we had those kind of things that they call exogenous or external forces working against us. I could very well accept that. Let us have a conversation. Do not hide the data from us. So I don't even know how many poor people I have to go sing kids to make noise for now. You understand? But we have to go down there with a strategy to collaborate with our partners, whomever they end up being, on syndicates, so we could eradicate poverty. We cannot just go around and everybody, I mean, even the premier making noise. He want to put people on pop. What kind of story is this? You want to take people off pop, not make noise to put people on pop. PAP is what you call the Poverty Alleviation Program. Now, when you say you alleviate something, it's just that you make it easier for the person to live in poverty, you know? But when you say you want to eradicate poverty, which is a different thing, it means everybody, right, there you go. There you go, Sylvester. I need to give you the mic and you continue. So you see, the thing is, our focus ought to be on the eradication of poverty. Poverty is too high, man. It's not fair that a man go out and work all week, and such as the salary that he comes home with, he is still poor. He cannot even go to the supermarket with the confidence that he could pick up a basket and go around and pick up the basics as it relates to food and personal care items. Man can't have that level of confidence. By the time you get up by the cashier, you got to push back something or peep over to see how far she reached there. Because your money that you work so hard for a whole week, and it can't go nowhere. And you still have to worry about the unaffordable, right, there you go. The water, electricity. You're talking about some people who have affordable houses, who can't afford the houses. You know, all those kind of things you have to take care of. So we have to get to the point where everybody in Nevis could afford the basics. That is what we're talking about. That is the level of representation we want from people. Not when you ask about poverty, the premier is going to say, well, poverty has always been with us. Well, we know that. The problem is what you're going to do about it. When you leave office, things ought to be better than when you met it there. Or else you might as well not even come. But you see, the thing is, when they ain't come for you and me. They come for themselves to see what them could siphon off. Because you know what? These are cream off the top set of people. They must always be creaming off something. I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt when I used to hear guys say, boy, I had a little contract there, but I got to 10% and give to the minister. Or I got to give 10% to the person over there. All these people creaming off in high daylight. And they seem not to even care. Because now it is established practice. If you're going to work for government, whatever they pay you, there must be a kickback. And it seems that we have gotten to the point that it is normalized now, that a guy wants a job, he ain't make no noise with them. He show up, he give them the estimate, somebody say, boy, put on 10% on that. And without any kind of resistance, man play along, because everybody go eat. And I understand that. But that is the reason why we can't see where the 400 million gone. It has been creamed off. And we got to get out of that habit. Because that kind of level of corruption, you know what it does? It does to us? It sinks the country further and further into debt. And when they leave, they're going to leave it there for us to pay. So if you think things hard now, imagine a couple of years. As the debt balloons, all of us going to have to draw a strap. You see me? I don't start to lose weight because I don't want to wait until it get to the point. And people say, oh, it's hard life, God, she looking so I losing weight now. You understand? Because the thing is, things are get tighter. Yeah, because if we're foolish enough to let this government continue, then you know what that means? You know what that means? There you go. It's going to only get worse because we're going downhill fast. They're talking about momentum. When you're going downhill, it's not momentum, no boy, it's speed, unstoppable force going downhill. And that is what is happening to us. And we have to check it. We got to check it now. Because you see them young people over there? We got to look out for them. It can't just be about us. It can't just be about us. We have to make sure that we have programs and plans in place so that those people could flourish when their time comes. That is what you call sustainable development. And that is what I find has been so lacking in this present administration. You're jaunting over to St. Kitts. Every day you're jaunting over to St. Kitts. And you want to justify that you could do 2 jobs in the same day. All right. None of us believe it, but you keep doing it. But there are some basic things that you ought to be collaborating with St. Kitts on. And that is one of them. The thing is, we have to move our people out of poverty, and we got to do that fast. We have to make life much easier to live in Nevis, because we deserve better. So you see this matter of inflation, that the other day, even the St. Kitts people get the 10%, 5% for Nevis people get lost in the channel. That, of course it get cream off the top. 5% cream off just so, because if that cream off the 10%, we would not get nothing. Even the 10% is a standard charge. So you see, things like that, we got to make sure that we clean up those kind of things and focus on the things that matter. So when we go to St. Kitts, we have to go down and we have to be serious about renewable energy. Because the price of the electricity or the neglect bill, it's killing me, and I live by myself. I could imagine people who live with 4 and 5 people in the same household. You understand? So the thing is, those are the issues we need to collaborate on. When we go down there, when they say they're having a renewable energy program, make sure that you don't skip out on cabinet the day when they start talking about that. Make sure you're there to represent people. Nevisians need that level of representation. You can't send people who just don't even understand. They don't even understand. Right. So you see, we have to send people who understand when we talk about renewable energy, how it's going to impact on the livelihood of the people in Nevis. Because when electricity goes so high, now Ramsey side, boy, electricity go up, I can drop on another $10 on that. I can drop on a little $5 on that. Everything goes up. If you can't get cheap electricity in a country, it means that inflation gonna be your friend for a long time. Likewise, if it is, because what I realize in St. Kitts, they decide that, okay, for inflation, everybody meeting it hard, we're gonna give government workers 10%. Well, what happened to the other people them not supposed to eat too. They not have to go Rams, do the same kind of shopping. So the people who work in the private sector, like people who work 4 seasons, well, I'm not so sure. Maybe they're doing much better than everybody else. But people who work in the other places, even Rams itself, they deserve some measure put in place to alleviate this same inflation pressure that they're feeling. But government can't just make policies just to at least favor some at the disadvantage of others. So when you sit down and you decide this is the strategy that we're going to employ to bring some relief, only half of the people in the country get relief. What happened to the other half? But there you go. So we need those kind of measures and people who understand a little economics, because I swear, these guys from over here, they have no clue. No disrespect. I'm just saying the way I see it, because I'm from Brownhill, so we talk plain. You know? But when they go, they ought to be able to agitate and be able to represent our people and say, you look, Prime Minister, understand what you're doing. You want to give the people in the civil service some measure of relief because of inflation. But what about the other people? You know? And so those are the that is the level of discussion and representation that we need when we send people to Bastille. Or else we're going to stay right here and we're going to stifle. Because when electricity go up and when the salaries and wages go up, it means that we are creating an environment where business is not going to be attracted to Nevis. Who going to want to come Nevis to pay the people here a minimum wage of, let's say, $360, when they could go somewhere else and pay a minimum wage of $200? They ain't going to come Nevis. Who going to want to come Nevis and pay an electricity bill for your company of $5,000 in a month when you could go somewhere else where they have renewable energy and pay $800? So the thing is, when we don't at least put measures in place that make sense, that we think about before we even do them, it could very well backfire on us. So raising wages not going to solve our inflation problem. But we need people who understand these basic principles to go to syndicates to represent us. And thank you, and I'm ready to go. I am ready to go. So I know my time is I think I might have extended my time a little bit, but the party leader ain't watching me so bad yet. But just let me make one more point, though, before I go. I want, when they come to you this time, okay? When they come, just ask them one question. What have you done since you have gone to Church Street to make life better for me and my family? If they cannot answer that, then you show them the gate. Say them to come back. Not here. You're not welcome here. Until you can bring solution, don't come on me here with your problems, because I have enough problems home. People, I love you. I want you to continue to follow us. I want you to continue to support us. And we're going to see you at the next meeting. Good night and God bless.
We are going up. We're going up together. We're going up together. We're going up to conquer. In the name of the Lord. In the name of the Lord. Say, we are going up. We are going up. We're going up together. We're going up together. We're going up to conquer. In the name of the Lord. In the name of the Lord. Don't talk. No, no. Don't talk defeat to me. Don't talk defeat to me. I am a child of
Brothers and sisters, she sound ready? Do you think she's ready? Are you ready for her? Can't hear you. Are you ready for her? She is ready. She is familiar with all the critical matters of state. And so, in St. John's and St. Paul's, we are going to send Patricia to Bastille. Do I have an amen? Yes. And so, brothers and sisters, candidate number 10, Rohan, is under the weather. And so, we're gonna have to give him some of that local brew with some lemon and get him fixed up. I shall not call the name of the local brew because I don't want too many people to know what it is. We're going to fix him up with some lime and that local thing so that he could get out of that quickly. We're going to give him a local brew. And so we're going to have him ready because he has to be ready when we go to Gingerland on Thursday. And so we are now going to hear from the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party. Make some noise and welcome Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge to speak to us.
Nevis first.
DJ, let me get some music.
Nevis first. Hey. Janice the for the people. She's a good leader. Protect your pride, no lose character. Nevis our first priority. Janice shine bright, could I never dim. She the for the people.
Everybody, good night. Good night. Good night. My first time on the stage in St. Thomas's in Jessups. And so, I know most of you may know me. You may not know me. You know my father. And so you know I'm no stranger to St. Thomas's. So I'll start off with the people in St. Thomas's. Let me hear you. People in St. Thomas's. Yes. And we move on. We move on to St. Paul's. St. Paul's. St. Paul's. St. George's. Did I miss out St. John's? Yes, I missed out St. John's because the other night, they said, Dr. Daniel, you had a lot of good points, but you talk kind of long. And so I think tonight, Dr. Bartlett spoke long because she figured I'm not going to have that much time. And I realized they didn't bring a podium, so I don't have any notes tonight. So I guess tonight is the beginning of the real NRP campaign. Now, my people in St. James's, I did not forget you. I cannot forget you. St. James's. St. James's. Yes, we are all here tonight. We are all here tonight. Now, we have heard of federal elections, and we always look at the federal election as if it is not that important. People would say, oh, that is St. Kitts thing. We ain't worried about it too much. And you know why we never used to worry about it? Because when NRP was in government, they made it look so easy. They did so much with so little that people decided, well, that's no big deal. Let CCM go. And what happened when CCM goes to St. Kitts? What happened when CCM goes to St. Kitts? We now getting $400 million, and they cannot tell you what they've done with it. The reason why we go to the federal government is because that is where the laws are made. Now, before 2014, you go to St. Kitts in the federal government, and the NRP premiers, they would fight. They would fight to get some money to come to Nevis, even if they had to take a loan. But as my colleague JD would say, we did more with less. Now, in 2014, and my colleague Dr. Bartlett says, stop talking about fair share and Charlestown Accord, because that don't mean anything. But in 2014, then Premier Amory signed the Charlestown Accord in blessed memory. And he would have made it as easy as it can get for the current CCM administration to go down and negotiate for Nevis's fair share. Couldn't get any easier than that. In fact, they would say they drafted the accord. Now the accord is something when you're campaigning, you say to yourself, what is the best way? What can we do to ensure that we can get people to vote for us? And so they came up with this Charlestown Accord. And they went to St. Kitts. And of course the Charlestown Accord said, Nevis must get its fair share of the CBI. Nevis must get its fair share of grants. Nevis must get financial assistance to help us with geothermal energy. Right? All of these were in the Charlestown Accord. The one thing that this CCM needed to do was to go down and to pass the necessary bill. And so they're all over. We now have the best passport in the region. That is all good. It brings in more money into CBI. But the one thing that you needed to do to make sure that Nevis could get its fair share, which is to table the bill, pass a cabinet resolution, and do what is required, that was never done. Because guess what? Getting the fair share was going to be to the benefit of the people of Nevis. All of the revenues and all of the cream, as Dr. Bartlett called it, would come in when you're applying for citizenship. You do your passport applications, and we know that you have certain legal firms involved. So we must say that the CCM has been negligent. They have been negligent. They did not do what they were supposed to do. And so now they're going to come and say, NRP now help us fight for the fair share. How are we going to help you fight when you had 3 strong in Parliament and all you needed to do was to table the legislation, put the bill there? And we would say, had that bill been presented and not passed, then all of Nevis would have been campaigning with CCM. Yes, we need our share. So we must know tonight that CCM did not perform. They did not perform because they did not know what to do. You think they did not know what to do? They could not care less. They could not care less. And so we understand that when you go to St. Kitts, one of the main things you're supposed to do is to ensure that you have legislation in place that is going to make life better for the people of Nevis. That is what Nevis representatives are supposed to do. Now, when we look at, for example, what has been happening, we understand that everything was good. Everything was good. And then later on, in March of this year, February of this year, you started hearing, oh, things are not so good. And when you really investigate the matter, you would hear, oh, it was a secret. We were trying to deal with it in-house. Now, you are a member of Parliament. How are you going to try to deal with the matter secretly and privately? Now, you know what they call this? This is something they call transparency. And we hear a lot about transparency in government. If you are representing people, you need to let them know what the challenges that you're having. But we know that the challenges, they only came about when they realized that the funding was getting less. Funding is getting less, but still, each year, they would approve their budgets. Each year. And it never dawned on them that, listen, we really need to start fighting for our fair share. So when we look at the fact that, as they say, they were having problems, but they decided to keep it a secret, that is not nothing new for the CCM government. That is not nothing new. That is the way that they operate. Because everything that they do, they feel it is for them and not for the people. And so when we look at, thank you. When we look at what would have transpired in Nevis with regards to running of the NIA, you could see that this is the style of CCM to operate a government in secrecy. The people who elected them do not need to know. This is what they feel. And so when we look at, for example, right here, we look at our airport. And a couple of years back, we would have heard that there was an agreement with some company, B&L. B&L, represented by who? Do you remember? Represented by Jonel Powell. And pretty soon we're going to see how it is that CCM and PAM can be such good friends. What it is do they have in common? And so there was a deal with B&L where Jonel Powell was the attorney representing the company, but we didn't get the details of that deal. And then that deal was canceled. And then recently we are hearing that there is a new deal for the airport, but nobody knows what's in the deal. And so this is not the way that you're supposed to run a government. And so when you look at what has been happening in St. Kitts, this is just the modus operandi. This is the way that they do business. The people do not need to know. And so with all of this secrecy, that is not good governance. That is not good governance.
Voting for NRP, the performance party. The other party a comedy like them want for a coming movie.
So now they went through all these secrets. Now the reason why I'm speaking to this is because we know in 2020, most of the people in Nevis went out and voted for CCM to give them all three. Why? Why did people vote for them? Because they made a promise. They made a promise. But the problem is, based on the information that they have now, they would say they had problems way before that election in 2020. Did anybody hear them? Did anybody hear them in 2020 say that Timothy is a bad man? Did anybody in 2020 hear them say they're having problems? Did anybody hear them say we cannot get our fair share? Under the table. But you know, when we look at some of the problems that we're having, it has a lot to do with what is the intended, what is the motive of CCM. It cannot be for the best interest of the people of Nevis. It cannot be. And so, we get the $400 million, and we ask, what did you do with it? What did you do with the $400 million? And as Dr. Bartlett said, they want to say, oh, don't ask about the $400 million. But we must ask about the $400 million, because this is what a good government is supposed to do. Now, in the middle of the pandemic, you have people struggling to pay utilities, struggling to keep children in school, struggling, and nobody found it necessary then to say, we need our fair share. We need our fair share in the middle of pandemic. Not only did we have the pandemic when people lost their jobs, we also had a situation where they even increased your water bill, your solid waste bill, right? How can you increase these bills and you're getting the $400 million and we cannot see what you're doing with it? So we have said that the NRP is the party that believes in performance. NRP believes in performance, and NRP is the party that puts people first, right? Now, we hear them talking about affordable housing. Affordable housing when the cost of the house is more than what somebody who has a middle income is making. Now, I'm going to tell you, an NRP in government, or an NRP party representing you in St. Kitts, and we would have received the $400 million, you must know how that money is going to impact your life. You must know. And so, we know. We hear about you have a car accident, and we have to wait until the next day before somebody could go to St. Kitts to get an MRI. And we know that that has cost people's lives. And so with $400 million, when people are saying, don't ask us what we did with it, we must ask, because there are basic services that we need here that we cannot get. And so we must look at our medical services. We must look at the dialysis system.
We as NRP cannot speak about having access to $400 million and not feel the pain of all those people who are suffering from kidney failure. Without feeling the pain, knowing that NRP already had a dialysis system here and the CCM government allow it to sit there and rot. And this is a government who received $400 million and is going to say, don't ask us what we do with the money. The same government who has $400 million and cannot tell you that they can help to make housing more affordable. Why can't you make housing more affordable? One of the things that NRP would do, and this is the reason why you need to have NRP representation in the federal government to ensure that we can get our fair share, because once we get our fair share, all that belongs to us, you, the people of Nevis, must feel the benefits of that money coming here. You must feel the benefits. Now, we speak about the peace program, and there's an issue saying that the peace program is a federal program. But the peace program is paid for by the federal government. And we are hearing that, oh, if we get our money, we could take care of our PAP and STEP and peace. Well, they got the money and they couldn't pay the 10% in the salary increase. They could not pay the 10%. And they already received the money for that. So just to show you, how can you say, give us the money and we'll take care of the federal programs when you receive the money and you cannot pay your civil servants? These are the problems that we have that we must deal with. Now, again, going to St. Kitts and negotiating and ensuring that Nevis gets the amount that belongs to it, you must be able to feel the impact. And so you have people who are complaining. You have people who are complaining, saying they go away to school and they spend all of these years, they have these large student loans, and they get back, and then the people on the peace program have more money than them. Because when they have to finish paying their student loan and pay for the expensive houses, they have no money left. Under NRP representation, we would ensure that our students who go away to college, you come back and you do not have to worry about the interest on your student loans. We must make it where everybody can feel the benefits. Everybody must be able to feel the benefits. If you have $400 million passing through Nevis, under NRP, you would feel that benefit. You would feel it.
We voting for NRP, the performance party. The other party a comedy like them want for your coming movie.
So we look at not only understanding that if you have an agreement before election, you must understand that after the election, you must do what is necessary, which is to pass the legislation, amend the Constitution. You must do what is necessary to ensure that we can get what is ours. And you know the interesting thing? We keep hearing about our fair share of the CBI. But when you look at the federal programs that generate revenues, CBI is just one. It may be the easiest one. But when we speak about the blue economy, and we look at yachting and boating, and the registration of boats and how much money is generated there. When you look at the grants that come into the federal government, of which Nevis is supposed to get its share, these things are no concern to the CCM government. In fact, as I mentioned, in the Charlestown Accord, it also spoke about financing for geothermal energy. And if there was the fight to get that financing for geothermal energy, we wouldn't have to go and take a loan that the people of Nevis now have to pay for a Wasilla generator that is still going, what do you say? Brap, brap. Still causing failure in electricity. And so when they come and they say NRP is not helping us, NRP cannot help you at this point because it's inside the federal government you're supposed to be. Inside. That is where you can make the laws. And you say you have 3, and you have 4 in PAM, and you think the best way to get Nevis' fair share is to mash up the government and come out and say, oh, NRP need to help us. How we can help you? How can we help you? And so these are the things we have to understand. The federal election has become ever so important now. It is more important than ever, because when NRP was in government, we were not so dependent on the federal government to pay our civil servants. We are now fully dependent on the federal government. Fully dependent on the federal government. And what must we do? We cannot spend the fair share. We cannot spend the CBI money if you're going to go down there and get fired. We cannot spend the CBI money if you do not do what is required. And it is clear that CCM did not understand what was required and what they needed to do. And so we cannot afford this federal election coming up. Is probably the most important federal election that we have to contest. The most important. Because guess what? Premier Armory of blessed memory would have signed the Charleston Accord. And the government that was in place, that is the government, the federal government, that was responsible for the Charleston Accord. And so there is no Charleston Accord now. And so imagine if they had the Charleston Accord and could not take the one extra step to ensure that Nevis gets his fair share. Imagine with no agreement, what are they going on to do? What are they going on to do? And so we must take this federal election important. We must see it as very important. We cannot afford for CCM to go back into the federal government. The only thing that they do down there is to mash up government and not show up to work. Now, we speak about the federal government. And let me explain just a little bit. Of course, we say we're the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And what that means is that Nevis has certain authorities. Nevis has certain responsibilities based on our constitution to make our own laws that could govern our affairs here in Nevis. And it's because of that special provision in the constitution that under NRP, Nevis was so advanced, because they understood. It was under NRP that the constitution was drafted, and they understood the powers that we had in Nevis to make our own laws. Now, one of the areas that is particularly troubling is the fact that in the Constitution, Nevis has authority and responsibilities over its fisheries. Over its fisheries. And under CCM, we would have seen a new piece of legislation passed in St. Kitts that put fisheries under the federal government instead of under the NIA. Right? And so many of you may have remembered at one time we used to have a director of fisheries in Nevis. You remember when we lost that director of fisheries? Under CCM. All that we have now is a deputy director. All decisions are being made in St. Kitts. These are the things that under CCM, instead of getting more power to generate our own future and economy, we are becoming more and more dependent on St. Kitts. And so these are some of the things that we have to look at. And when we look at our fishers here, how they are struggling, you would not believe that it is the same minister responsible for marine resources, responsible for fisheries. It's the same minister in Nevis as in St. Kitts. And you speak to the fishers and they tell you how they struggle. They struggle to keep their pots out at sea. They struggle to have to go so far to get fish. But still what? The cost of gas for the fishers in St. Kitts is cheaper than for in Nevis. The cost of fishing supplies is cheaper in St. Kitts than it's in Nevis. And so you must ask, when I listen to these people talk, and they tell you, we represent well. If you want to know, ask the people in Scotland and the OECS. But we need to ask the people in Nevis. Ask the people in Nevis, how were they represented? So it seems to me that these people, they feel that they have a job in the federal government, but they forgot that they're there to represent the people of Nevis. And the people of Nevis must be the ones to feel the benefits. So don't come and say you went to Scotland, and don't come and say all of these different things that you did in St. Kitts and how the people in St. Kitts love you. Well, let the people in St. Kitts vote for you then. Let the people in St. Kitts vote for them. And so we must understand, on the NRP, we say on the NRP, Nevis is our first priority.
Nevis first. Nevis first.
I can tell you, when we speak about federal elections, again I'm going to say, this has to be the most important federal election that we've ever contested. We know that when NRP is part of the federal government, we know that it looks out for the best interests of Nevis. And we can see all around what has happened in Nevis under NRP. When CCM is part of the federal government, they do not understand. They think that they're working for St. Kitts. And so some of the things that we have to look at, the marine resources, like I said, that is now a federal act. And you would imagine that if you're working on the marine resources and you're putting a grant together to get money to develop fisheries in St. Kitts, well, the reason why you're there as a minister from Nevis is to ensure that you get this, your amount. You cannot put a grant together for fisheries and agriculture in St. Kitts and doesn't provide any for Nevis, then they clearly don't understand. They do not understand. And so when we talk about food security, some people look at this and say, oh, you know, food security, we want to make sure. But fisheries is part of our food security. We must be able to help the fishers. We must be able to help them, provide cheaper gas for them, get bigger boats for them. We must be able to do that. I know you have a lot of fishers right here in Jessups. You must go down that road to get to the bay. But can you get down that road when it's raining? And so when you talk about food security from a fisheries perspective, a lot of us only eat fish. A lot of us do not eat meat and chicken, etc. But even so, when we look at the importance of fisheries for our tourism and for our diet, we must do what is necessary to ensure that our fisheries are able to make their livelihoods in the best way possible. And I'm speaking about the fishers here, but I also have to speak about when you look at Nevis 11, and you start from Long Haul and you come down to Newcastle and Jones Bay and Cotton Ground and Jessups. Look at all of these fish landing areas here. And so this Nevis 11 must be an area where you can look at fisheries and develop fisheries and make it one of the pillars of our the economy going forward. Now, we speak about fisheries because you see, remember that fisheries is under a federal act. And we must be able to make the connection to how we're going to benefit the people in Nevis. And even when you look at agriculture, we talk about food security, but what is being done to help the farmers, to deal with the monkeys and the stray dogs, etc. You're not seeing any real input in terms of the development of these industries. And so understand that Nevis at one time was heading towards secession, and we would have put the necessary pillars in place to ensure that we can sustain ourselves. Under the CCM government, we have gone decades backwards. We have gone backwards. We cannot support ourselves. And that is why you're hearing this big song and dance about our fair share. The dance is not about the fair share. What the people of Nevis must understand is that CCM had 7 years. 7 years had an agreement and did not do what they were supposed to do. They did not do what they were supposed to do, which was simply to present a bill in Parliament to ensure that we get our fair share. And as Dr. Bartlett said, even if you did not have that bill, you still have the Constitution that you can go back to ensure that we get our fair share. But it's obvious that Nevis and the people of Nevis was not at the heart of the CCM government. They never went down there with the intention of making life better for the people of Nevis. And we know what the real story is. And so there's a motion of no confidence that was filed against Douglas. There's one filed against Prime Minister Harris. And so you want to tell me, who can CCM work with? Who can they work with in the federal government? Right? We look at NRP, we looked at Simeon Daniel, we looked at Premier Parry, we saw Patrice Nisbet, and we see how they were able to perform for Nevis. We saw how they were able to perform. Yeah. All that CCM has been able to do is to go down there and mash up the government, cause confusion, and nothing for the people of Nevis to feel or to benefit from. Now, I'm going to wrap up now. But all I want to say to you tonight is that this federal election is not like any other federal election. Nevis is at a crossroads. There has been no foreign direct investment. There has been no new development in Nevis to say that we can sustain ourselves. We have seen hotels closed. We have seen businesses closed. And before the Premier or CCM government is going to hold those businesses accountable for all of the concessions that they received, what did they do? Oh, it's a business decision. It's a business decision. And so these businesses have been able to close, move out, leave so many people unemployed. No new development coming in to create new job opportunities. And so Nevis is in a position right now where we must ensure that we have representation in the federal government that has the people of Nevis and the best interests at heart. Right? That is what we must ensure at this point in time. Nevis has gone backwards on the CCM representing us in the federal government. And when we sit and we compare, we cannot say it enough. Do not take these federal elections for granted. Do not take these federal elections for granted. Dr. Bartlett already spoke about electricity and the need to be able to reduce that. There's so many things that we could do with $400 million that everybody could feel the impact, whether it's in your housing, whether it's in student loans, whether it's in the peace program, whether it's in medical services. These are the things that the people of Nevis must feel, and these are the things that we would address. But first and foremost, we must understand what we are worth, and we must go to St. Kitts to negotiate and ensure that we have what is ours. So, I'm going to ask for a little chant now, and I want everybody to just feel that this is the time that NRP is going to make Nevis great again. So I just want you to say with me, NRP, 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 NRP. We have to do it. Everybody, good night. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Nevis first. Nevis first. Nevis first. Nevis first. Hey. Janice the for the people. She's a good leader. Protect your pride, no lose character. Nevis our first priority.
Brothers and sisters, you hear the leader? You ready for the leader? Yes. The leader comes to you with substance. The leader comes to you with plans and programs. The leader comes to you because she is committed to making sure that life gets better for everybody in the country. The leader is studied in her approach, and the leader is going to work morning, noon, and night to ensure a better development for the people of Nevis. So give another round of applause. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip. When you notice, when you leave the meetings of the Nevis Reformation Party, you leave talking about fisheries, housing, poverty alleviation, agriculture, foreign direct investment. You hear upon things? That is why we say, like our warrior soldier, we say to her, talk the things. She talked the things. And so, brothers and sisters, I am satisfied that we are on a roll. We are rolling to victory in number 9, in number 10, and in number 11. We are rumbling through constituency 9, constituency 10, and constituency 11. Brothers and sisters, we have scheduled 2 more meetings for this week. Thursday, we are going down to Hanley's Road by Jean's shop. On Saturday, we're going over to Brick Hill by Danville shop. On Sunday, we're going by Bufford shop in Crannock Road. And so we say to you, line up with the Nevis Reformation Party. Thank you very much for coming out, and see you Thursday, and stay on the NRP Green Team. Thank you very much for your participation this evening, and let me turn it over to the DJ.
Nevis, I hope them hear this. NRP, Nevis Reformation Party. Show me you want if you're voting. For NRP, you know we voting. Show me you want. Oh, yeah. Hey. We voting for NRP, the performance party. The other party a comedy like them want for a coming movie. We vote NRP, the performance party. The other party a comedy like them want for a coming movie. Show me you want if you're voting. For NRP, you know we voting. Show me you want if you're voting. For progress, I got this feeling, wonderful feeling. Let me see the and them not touch out the ceiling. We gonna live in love again. I got this feeling, wonderful feeling. Keep the faith and keep on believing. We overcome this stress one day. NRP, I got this feeling, wonderful feeling. Let me see the and them not touch out the ceiling. NRP, they on top again. I got this feeling, wonderful feeling. Keep the faith and keep on believing. We overcome this stress one day.